I know, it's been quite a while. My updating schedule is not great, but I'm coming in hot. Now, I know I've been living under a rock, and none of you can judge me for that, because when I was a kid, I was one of the ones who wasn't allowed to read, watch, consume a lick of content of Harry Potter, okay? And by the time I was old enough to be able to, I just didn't care. And then when I hit my 20s, I didn't watch, didn't read, didn't digest anything of Harry Potter out of pure spite. It was a petty flex for me that I just hadn't known anything about Harry Potter, and all my friends liked it, and I didn't care, okay? I didn't care, and I didn't want to care. About a month ago now, it's been a good month. Has it been a month? Probably a month or two, I don't know. My friend held me at gunpoint over Discord. My friend convinced me to watch the movies with her over Discord. And unfortunately, it has become my entire personality since then. So, I'm 20 years late, but I'm still here. Before we get into this video, I need to tell you the story of how it all went down, because there's a reason why I didn't immediately pick up the books and read them. We watched a movie per night, and for Deathly Hallows, we watched both of them in a day. I'm not joking when the end credits of the last movie hadn't even started, and my friend sends me a link and says, "Here you go. You're welcome. Initiation." And I was like, what is this? And I opened it, and it's a link to, I was gonna say God's website, AO3. It was a link to Archive of Our Own. And I click it, and I'm like, what the hell is this? Why? And she said, if you want to become one of us, you have to read this. And I said, okay. It was Manacled. So imagine me, 24-year-old me, just overjoyed and filled with all the emotions that you feel after watching Harry Potter for the first time. It's that childhood nostalgia. Like, I could totally see how these are people's comfort movies, and honestly, I started feeling left out. I regretted not being able to watch them. I regretted having so much spite for so long. I have all of these positive, good, warm feelings about it. And I immediately started Manacled. I hadn't read a book. I had hardly known anything about it. Like, I'm not joking when I say I could not tell you the first thing about Harry Potter. Like, I knew his name. That's all I knew going into the movies. And they were so good. And so my cruel friend says, here's Manacled, read it. The first sentence in the summary, if you didn't know, is Harry Potter is dead. Okay, so first of all, that's not a spoiler. It's the very first fucking line in the summary of Manacled, okay? And so I was like, ooh, I don't know how I could do this, because I feel like I need so many fan fictions of him, because, okay, she's like into the Slytherins, she's a Slytherin, she loves Draco, I don't understand. Like, Ron, Hermione, Harry, I love them more, okay? I just do. That's just whatever. And so she was like, literally read the fucking books. You don't need any fanfic. There's not, like, you have 7 thick-ass books from Harry's perspective. And I was like, okay, yeah, no, you're so right. So she said, just give it a chance. You'll love it. You said you like it when characters suffer? Yeah, okay, read Manacled. And I was like, okay, fine. I am not joking when I tell you that the most profound works of literature in this day and age are on God's cursed website, Archive of Our Own. And that's not being dramatic. Like, I'm fucking serious, okay? Like, some of the most profound literature I've ever read is on that cursed website. I have never read a book so hopelessly depraved, okay? The amount of despair you feel when you read that book, especially the first part, it's unfathomable. I was in the trenches, okay? I had just gone from the high of watching one of our generations and that generation above us, okay, I'm Gen Z. Literally, this is like a big part of media. This is like, everybody's read this, everybody's watched, and I was just experiencing the highs of it. And you're gonna throw me to the trenches, to the deep, dark, depraved labyrinth that is Manacled. Oh. And don't even get me started about the flashbacks, because I said that Harry was my favorite. And I was like, I don't know how I can read this if Harry's dead and everything. It made so much sense. Like, the way he spirals and the way him and Hermione start fighting, it totally makes sense. And the reason why Manacled hit so hard for me is because literally Manacled is one tiny decision on Voldemort's part from being canon. Because the way that the author wrote it, the characters are so precise. Like, they've got it in them. The author wrote the characters so in line with who they could be. I'm shaking talking about it. I never thought I would be into this, and I never thought that I would be one of them, but... So it was like a week later after I finished watching the movies, and I read Manacled in like a day. It's like it's like 400,000 words, right? I think. I slept for like 4 hours. I couldn't stop thinking about it. I had to finish it, and I read it in a day. And it was about a week later. My husband was like, I want to watch Harry Potter. You like it? I was like, no, sir. You can watch it by yourself. He's like, but I want to watch it with you. I could not take one look. I could not take one look at any of their faces. Manacled. I'm trembling. I was so bad. I was like, Juju, how could you fucking do this to me? How could you do this to me? Okay, you let me watch these movies and then you immediately send me to the trenches of Manacled. Like, why didn't you let me read the books first? I'm so traumatized. I'm gonna start crying. But I loved it. That's the problem. I loved being traumatized. It was so good. It took a couple weeks, but I did watch the series again with my husband. After we watched the movies, I told him everything about Manacled, and he's like, why the fuck would you do that to yourself? And I said, why would you not? What is life worth living if you don't live it to its most depraved bounds? Here we are now. We're a few weeks after having digested Manacled and all of its grandeur. And guess what came in the mail? I couldn't continue. What? What? You think I'm gonna watch all the Harry Potter movies for the first time and then not immediately go and buy the book? Come on. Come on! It's okay, it's so fun! So we're gonna unbox these today. I've never done an unboxing before. This is a big deal. I'm unboxing Harry Potter books for the very first time in my life in 2024. I know, ripe age, right here. And all 3 of my subscribers, you better eat this up. I know one of you are Juju. Okay, Juju, you better be watching this, eating this up. You're welcome. Oh my God, I'm so excited. There's someone's thing in here. First edition. This came with it. This is such good condition too. Oh, they had to put their fuck ass sticker on it. It's totally fine. Wow. I bought these because the artwork is far superior. This one is like sealed. Which one is this? Prisoner of Azkaban. I bought the cheapest option of all the hardcovers, and a lot of them said like acceptable. So I assumed they were going to be all torn up and disgusting, but it seems like that's far from the case so far. First edition, 12th printing, 20th printing. I don't know how to read the little things. I don't know how to read it, which is very bad. My advanced editing and publishing professor would tear my ass up, okay? Oh my God, the thing is like, this book is so big. Dude, this is like Christmas. I'm so excited. Okay, it's so fine. Wait, which one is this? The Half-Blood Prince doesn't have a dust jacket. I might cry. Oh my God, I might cry. That's so infuriating. I'm about to set Thrift Books. On Thrift Books website, if you choose a condition, and usually it's under the like acceptable, like the lowest one. And some of them said like best available, no dust jacket. And so I deliberately bought a more expensive one because I wanted the dust jackets. Anyway, the only one that's missing is Order of Phoenix, which should be in the box then. There's another sticker on this. It was from Savers. I've heard of Savers. Isn't that like a Canadian thing? I don't know, I'm confused. I'm opening this box now. I don't know why the packaging is different, but I don't know why the packaging is different. I thought it occupies. What? Oh no. My birthday's in exactly a week from filming this, and Juju bought me a birthday present, and she said that when it comes, we're gonna open it on FaceTime together. And I totally thought that this was the rest of my Harry Potter thrift books shipment, and it's not. Needless to say, after all that yapping, this is not, this is not the rest of my Harry Potter series. This is my birthday present from Juju. I'm so sorry. You can watch my reaction now. She bought me this. Thank you, Juju. It's very nice. Oh my god. The pen is the Elder Wand. That's so funny. It's on theme. Happy birthday to me. We don't have Order of Phoenix yet. It's still coming in the mail because I ordered a couple other books. This is this is not how I expected this unboxing to end. Thank you, Juju, for that beautiful notepad. Here we are going to start on the interesting part of this video, the part of the video that you actually clicked on after years and years of me yapping. I will be reading and reacting to the entire Harry Potter series in the books for the very first time in my life in the ripe year of 2024. Okay? Hope you stick around, and I hope you enjoy whatever my blabbering mouth will say. There's probably gonna be tears. There's probably gonna be confusion. I'm probably gonna be pissed off sometimes, but at least it'll be entertaining. Okay, don't mind my disheveled mess. While I was walking, I was reading, and I got to page 180. There are some thoughts that I have, because, you know, I've already seen the movies. For the most part, this is almost like exactly like the movies. Almost. Like I keep seeing the scenes in my head when prominent things happen. However, I feel like I'm going to be disappointed. And definitely not in the books, but in the movies. Is this series like one of the series where the director just didn't do good? Is that what it was? Because there are so many like funny little scenes or little things that Harry says that I feel like is lacking in the movie. I am literally 180 pages into a thick ass series. So I'm probably just speaking out of my ass right now. Like some of his little clapbacks, something that says he's so hilarious and a lot, like, I don't know. Like I feel like they didn't give him as many moments to like say it, because sometimes in the movie I'm like, oh my god, that's hilarious. And another thing, like they hate Hermione. They don't like her. They don't like each other. Like in the movie, like they fought. But, oh, by the way, if you can still hear him, I'm so used to it. My son is yapping to the TV, okay? They like don't like her. Like they don't like her. And she doesn't like them. It's a more intense dynamic than what was in the movies. I feel like they pretended to, or like they liked each other quicker, or they didn't hate each other as much in the movies, I mean. I'm gonna get canceled. I don't know how you're gonna feel about this. I didn't really like Hermione in the movies. I understood her character, and people like that. And in the book, it's even worse. Like, she's pissing me off. I don't care if she's 11 here. I don't care if I got a beef with 11, 12-year-olds. Kids like that are so fucking annoying. So what I just read was the whole troll in the bathroom fiasco, okay? Kind of liked how it ended. But from that moment on, Hermione Granger became their friend. There are some things you can't share without ending up liking each other and knocking out a 12-foot mountain troll is one of them. I think that's a good line. That's a good line, a good way of ending the chapter and of starting their friendship. But I don't know. We'll see how it goes. It's a little bit different than I expected, but also exactly how I expected at the same time. Does that make sense? God, I love the movies, but I feel like reading the books are gonna make me not like the movies. Welcome back to my bedroom floor. We finished her. It was good. It was exactly how I anticipated. It was good. It was exactly what everything I imagined happened. There's a lot of scenes that are completely different from the movie, and some scenes where they omit or switch up characters, like who are in them completely. There was a scene where it's all three of them just in the movie during the scene, but in the book Neville was there with them, which Neville is a much more main character in the book, which I like. I feel like in the movie they just kind of exiled him. Like, I don't know, they didn't give him as much time as he had in the book. I think that my biggest complaint is I don't know why, it seemed like Hermione hated them. Like they hated Hermione. Like I know I said that before, but they hated so much more in the books. And I don't know if that's just to make their friendship progression faster in the movies. The only thing that bothered me was there's so much of this, like all caps, but it's like, how am I supposed to get mad at that? Because this is literally like a kid's book and stuff like that happens all the time. So like, here's another in all caps. Whenever Harry meets Quirrell and Voldemort, like at the end, look at this page. Look at all of the caps. All of them are uppercase. Like, there's so much in it. Like, this, I just was like, whoa. Overstimulated when I opened it. But obviously, this is like such a classic. Like, it's like so fine. Here, I'm gonna put it back. I'm gonna wait till shelf here. It's like what I said. It's so classic. It feels nostalgic, and it's a kid's book. So I literally can't be mad. It's literally basic hero's journey shit, which is so cool. This would totally be nostalgic to me if I wasn't kept away from it for so long. What genre is Harry Potter? Is it fantasy? It literally is. It literally is. It doesn't feel like it though. It feels like it's because they have like a normal world. I think that's why. I think that's why it doesn't feel like it's fantasy, because there's a normal world and everything. I will check in with you later and tell you when I decide to read the next book. Good morning. It's the next day, and it's a little bit earlier than I expected to be recording, so my eyes are kind of puffy and still asleep. I'm starting this, and I expect it to be exactly like the last book. Oh my gosh. How dare. In the movie, it was just them three, but in the books, it's always been them three with Neville, so I'm gonna expect that to happen. I don't know why they said fuck Neville in the movies. He's hilarious. I love him, but you know, it's so fine. We'll see how this plays out. I am not even gonna lie. It's like 3 days later and I'm not even at home. Okay, but guess what I brought with me? This. You know what I didn't bring with me? The last book. I'm about to start this book, and at this rate I might finish it tonight. So I had to finish, I didn't have to, but I decided that I was gonna finish Chamber of Secrets really fast so that I could go on this trip and only have to bring one book. So I think I read like the last 150 pages in like 2 hours. I don't remember. I speed ran it, and honestly, it was good. It was exactly how I anticipated it to be, because it's very similar to the movie so far. I'm literally about to pause this filming so that I could read my notes app, because I actually made a list of all the things that were different in the book than they were in the movie. My notes app, I wrote down, so I have a lot of things that I saw that weren't in the movie that I think were hilarious, but they weren't crucial to the plot, so it didn't matter that they weren't there. The denoming scene was hilarious. It was so funny, and like the time that they had spent like in the movies, the time spent like before they even get to Hogwarts is pretty long. So I get why they didn't add it, but that was so funny, and it would have been hilarious to see in the movie. The other thing that was funny was Arthur Weasley literally tackling Lucius Malfoy whenever they met each other in Diagon Alley, like before that was so funny. But like, it seemed very much so like kids, like, I don't know, it makes sense why they didn't put it in the movie. The scene was already kind of cringe as it was. This book had a lot more Neville in it, unlike the movie. That's still a complaint I have. Percy Weasley is another character who has a lot more time in the books than in the movie. Like, I can remember him in the movie, but I didn't even realize that was his name. I didn't realize who he was and what he actually did until I got too far into the book. I was like, oh, I know who that is. I didn't even realize who he was, and he was like very annoying. It's that scene where they go into the room and everybody's talking shit about Harry, and everybody's being mean about him, and then Ron goes and is like, does anybody else have a problem with him or whatever. I feel like up until that point, there wasn't that much hate on Harry in the movies, even though in the books, it's a lot more prevalent. The other thing that I thought about was like the way that Voldemort like talked to Harry, because isn't it like in the movie, unless I just couldn't hear it or couldn't make it out, I thought that in the movie you don't understand what Voldemort is saying in his head, but in the book it's like, I'm gonna kill you, or I'm gonna rip you apart, or like something about blood. I was like, and this is a kid's book? I was like, okay. Like, anyways, enough of yapping about Chamber of Secrets. I'm not starting Prisoner of Azkaban, which everybody says is the best movie, which that's like the politically correct answer. It's not my favorite movie, but it is a very good one. I literally feel like Prisoner of Azkaban, like the movie, you could literally watch it out of order. Like, you just watch it randomly, someone who doesn't know anything about Harry Potter, and it would still be pretty interesting. I just remember them obviously going back in time and everything. And that's like the really interesting part that makes me feel like it's a little bit set apart. I'm wondering how much extra is in this book, or maybe the scenes are more dragged out than they were like for the other two books. Because some of the scenes that happened, I'm like, oh, I remember this scene. But then all of a sudden it's done in the book, and I'm like, oh, that was really short. So maybe there's more details in this. I don't know. I'm very excited to start it. I don't really have anything else to say. So I will update you when something happens. I'm not even gonna lie. It's like a few days later. I was gonna say 2, but it's most definitely been like 3 or 4. And I'm this far into the book. I don't know why I'm getting, this book, okay. I don't know why I'm nervous. It's literally taken me about, I think 3 or 4 days to read 200 pages. I could have read this book in like a day and a half. I'm just getting scared because it's feeling all the same. I'm so bored. This is literally putting me in a bit of a reading slump. How can I say that about this? But it is. It literally feels the exact same as the other 2 books, and I'm getting bored. Now, granted, I know I'm not to the good part yet. I know that the good part is coming, okay, and I'm waiting. I'm hanging on for dear life, but I'm like suffering. It's putting me in a slump because right now, I hate Hermione. She's pissing me off, and she's so insufferable. Someone needs to tell her to shut the fuck up. I don't know why she was okay in the movie, but then in the book, it's just so much more. Oh my God. I've gotten in so much trouble dealing with bitches like her, dude. I'm such a good person now. I'm not that irritated. I think I'm just thinking about it too hard right now. I'm gonna keep reading this and we'll get to the good part. It's so crazy because in the movies, Draco pissed me off. He was so annoying, but he's literally not even annoying anymore. He has such a like basic, this Cash has very severe cute aggression toward his Squishmallow kitty. It's this big. He's super annoying in the movies where I was just like, I can't even tolerate his character like in the movie. But then in context in the book, it's just that all the other characters are so much worse and like out of pocket. Before I do go, I need to clarify why I don't like Hermione. I feel like that's probably important to say. Every time they do something, she puts up a fight. She's like after Harry showed them the map, she's like, well, you're gonna turn it in, aren't you? And then after Harry gets like one good thing, the new broom or whatever the fuck they call it, she like goes and tells McGonagall and McGonagall has to take it and everything and do their little test or whatever on it. It's like, who hurt you? And like, why are you trying to ruin his life more than it already is? Like, I don't know why she's peeving me so bad. I don't know if that's like a common reaction to her in the books. I'm just saying what I feel, and I'm hoping it gets better and that I'm wrong. But she's fucking annoying. When Ron yells at her and is like mad at her and calling her cat mean names, I'm like, finally. Like, I don't like, and I know that's mean. I know he's supposed to be mean and like in that scene, like, I don't know, whatever. They're both in the wrong, but I'm on his side. It is not even about the damn cat and rat situation. Like, I literally just want someone to yell at her and say, shut the fuck up. Like, just stop. So once the good part starts happening, I know that she's a crucial part in it. So I hope her character comes around. But if this good part comes, she's gonna be bitching about every single decision and every single thing they have to do. Just cut her off. Like, I don't understand. Like, why I could not keep someone like that around. When do I want to finish this? At first, I thought that if I was like, oh, if I finish this entire series in the month of August, then that gives me a lot of time. But for how slow I've been going and how tiny these books are, I'm really nervous that that's not going to happen. I'm going to force myself to get there, though. We're going to finish this. We're going to finish this in 1 month. I must have been in a mood in the last clip, so I severely apologize for having beef with 12-year-olds, okay? I didn't mean it. Literally catch me having severe beef with 12-year-olds, okay? Fake ones, that is. Unfortunately, I will say that I was really wrong, and it was pretty good. Obviously, the last, 100 pages were good, but, why did it take 300 pages to get there? Like, I know the lore. Yeah, we need lore. But, this was good. The last 100 pages were really good. I don't have beef with 12-year-olds anymore, but I only like them whenever they do what they want to do, not what they think they're supposed to do. Which, that's, so totally unfair for me to ask for because, they're 12. Because this is, the last book in this series, at least I think, this is what I've been told. This is the last book in the series that is written like a children's book, hopefully. It's not that I don't like kids' books, it's just after watching the movies and like anticipating, it's just I'm my brain is like, I don't know. So I would sit there reading and be like, she did not just do that. Like, she did not just say that. And then I remember, I'm like, this is literally a kid's book. It's so fine. Okay. So, oh my gosh. So I remember obviously the scene when Sirius and Remus changed Peter Pettigrew, like from the rat to human. Some of the quotes that Sirius said to Peter was so funny. It was so bad. Like, Peter like goes and grabs Sirius or whatever, and he like kicks him off of him. He's like, my robes are already dirty enough without you on him. I don't know why that's so funny. I'm not even gonna lie, I really don't have that much of like emotional investment in anybody older than the kids right now, just because, I don't know, I just don't. There are some quotes like here and there that I'm like, oh. Like, oh God, like that's kind of sad. One of the last quotes, like at the end of the letter that Sirius sent Harry whenever he gave him the signature to be able to go to Hogsmeade, I don't know why that was like, I was like, that's like, oh. Like, oh, okay, that's kind of emotional, that's kind of sad, and I kind of really like this book. It's so fine. Which is honestly, like, the whole dynamic between Sirius and Harry and everything, that's literally what saved the book for me. That's probably why I like it a lot more than I did yesterday. Now I'm starting this. And I am nervous about it. 734 pages, okay. I'm gonna start reading it now, and I will update you on my first thoughts and impressions. It's a bit later than I've wanted it to be, but I started. Oh, okay, wait. Is it triggering for people to use the inside flaps as bookmarks? Like, I'm tired of cramming like a dirty receipt or like my phone when I need it as a bookmark, like the TV remote, you know, whatever. So with hardcovers, I never have hardcovers, I never read them. So it's like it comes with a bookmark, and if you're mad about it, then this isn't your book. I'm 170 pages in, and we're finally getting to, like, they just got to Hogwarts, and he's just now going to be talking about the Triwizard Tournament or whatever. I have been locked in. I have actually been locked in. I'm not quite sure what made me love this so much more than the other books. Typically if I'm reading a series, by book 4 I'm like locked in, you know, but I didn't expect it to be this like dramatic. I think what did it for me was in the movie we only get, I'm pretty sure in the movie it starts with the dream Harry has, just like the book does, obviously, except in his dream it's like only his perspective and you don't know any of the backstory or the lore. I had no idea about any of the lore, about the whole lore with like the riddles or whatever, and that was cool to know. I liked the first chapter. I guess that's what locked me in, because I was like, oh, more lore. It was literally the dream that Harry had, but it had so much more depth in it that obviously Harry can convey. But I am caught off guard by is, I don't know if it was all of them or just Ron, but the way he was talking about and like treating Winky, like the house elves, that made me uncomfortable. The way Ron talked about them, like, well, yeah, you're right, it's like not a human. Well, yeah, but it still has feelings. Oh, well, it's not our house elf, so we can't do anything about it, which, fair, that's totally fair. But I was just like, you're just gonna let your son say those things about a creature that clearly has feelings, considering she is screaming and crying and throwing up at your feet. Like, I was like, okay. I think that was the only scene that I was like, oh, I'm gonna continue reading this. We'll see how far I get. I've been trying to not Speedy Gonzalez through this. I may just let myself let loose. I may just finish this tonight, but probably not. But I probably will. I'm like 434 pages in, which means I have exactly 300 pages left. I have such conflicting feelings about this book and the length of it. I do really love long books, but there are some that feel long. You know what I mean? Like, you know what? This isn't bad. I'm taking it back. First of all, I wasn't gonna call this bad because I really like it, but it just feels long. That's the only complaint that I really have for this book, because the actual story is much more detailed and better than the movies are, which obviously, because it's a book, I need to hold this up. Okay, so in this movie, People are so dramatic and blame him for everything. Like, why did you put your name in? Why did you do this? Well, I'm like, you just really like to be famous. How did you lie? Whatever. And in the movie, he was just like, I didn't do it. And then let everybody scream and yell over him. But in here, he was like, he actually seemed more pressing about it. Because if I didn't do something and someone was telling, and everybody believed I did and everybody was hating me for it, I would be a little bit more aggressive. The reason why I get why he is the way he is because, first of all, how he was raised. If that makes sense. Doesn't really stand up for himself. He's used to it, whatever. And also, what do you mean he's like 14 in this fucking book? He just now got into high school. He's fighting dragons? Girl. The scene that I did really like was in the book whenever he was talking to Sirius through the fire at like 1 o'clock in the morning or whatever, and Ron came down and was talking to him because he was like, I hear your voice, and who are you talking to? And Harry was like, that's none of your business, or whatever. In the movie, it made me really mad because I feel like this borders miscommunication, and I hate miscommunication because Harry is like, oh, I'm not talking to anybody. Why is it your business anyway? And then Ron starts attacking him like, oh, well, you're just like the hero or whatever. And Harry was like, if you have such a problem with it, then you can leave. If my best friend was mad at me because she thought I did something that I genuinely didn't do, I would slap her in the face. I'd say, bitch, I didn't do it. Like, I would be very clear and prove to her, not even prove to her, just be very adamant about it. And it's like, if she doesn't believe me when you're that adamant, like, can you even call yourself best friends? But it feels like Harry doesn't even do that. It's like, in the book, he throws one of those stupid little Cedric button things or whatever right into Ron's face, and it either makes him bruise or bleed or something. And then he says something like, oh, like, you should get over it because it's like you want my scar anyways. The movie took out so many funny, iconic lines, okay, that I wanted to see that. That would have been hilarious. And I totally get why they didn't put it in. But I don't know. And the way Harry was thinking like he wanted him to hit him or whatever, but Ron walked away and he was disappointed about it. Oh yeah, I don't know if I talked about this. I think the last time I literally talked about this, I was on Hermione's side about this whole spew bullshit. Bitch. Why does there always gotta be something with her? These fucking house elves, and how Hermione is trying to like free them or whatever, but they don't want to be free clearly. Like Dobby. Sorry, I'm an idiot. Dobby really wanted to be free, but like they're not all like that. I thought they all were like that. And so last clip I was like, well, why would they be disrespectful to whatever? So my whole thing now is she should just stop being stupid. She's so fucking annoying, dude. I don't know if this is gonna get me canceled, but she literally sounds like every politically correct keyboard justice warrior. That's what it sounds like to me right now. And so everybody just like, yeah, because you know she has good intentions, but the house elves don't need it. House elves don't need her. Why does Victor Crumb not seem like an asshole? We don't get much from his perspective, obviously, because this is Harry's perspective. But from what Harry can see, he just kind of has a tough face all the time. And I feel like they all think like, oh, that means he's mean and like badass and everything, whatever. I wonder if he's just socially awkward. The way Hermione talks about him is like, oh, well, actually, he didn't talk at all about Harry. And actually, it took him a long time to ask me out because he was scared I was going to reject him. It's like he's, first of all, this age gap makes me uncomfortable, but it's like, I'm not even going to get into that. So she's like 14 or 15 and he's 18. That's weird as hell. He was nervous, so I don't know if he was lying to her or I don't know. I mean, obviously, like, I'm not telling it because I know that there's a time where Ron or Harry, one of them says like, well, he's only after you for physical stuff or whatever. We haven't come to that point yet. So I don't know how that fares. I don't know how that goes over. But as of right now, he doesn't seem like an asshole. Like, he doesn't seem, I just think that Ron is jealous because he's a pussy and couldn't ask her out. They're literally competing right now. The only person that Harry is really mad at right now is, I feel like he's just irritable with everything going on, how he's always being blamed, and I feel like he's just stressed for himself. It feels like there's nobody he really hates except for Rita, which, granted, all these characters are goofy. All these characters, there's some things that happen that I'm just like, that is for comedic effect. Like, whenever Hagrid called Maxine, or whatever her name is, half giant. She was like, "How dare you," and hits him in the face or whatever, and Harry and Ron are like, because they're eavesdropping. That was really funny for comedic effect. We'll see how far I can read today. Hopefully I do read this in 4 days and not 5. Someone's gonna have to really kindly tell me that the book did better during the scene whenever Harry got the gillyweed, whatever the hell it was, that helped him breathe underwater. Someone has to convince me that the book was better, because I had been waiting the entire time. I was waiting for so long for Neville to help him, but it never came. Then suddenly there was Dobby, and like Harry was late. What? Because I feel like the entire time the movie left out Neville because he seemed much closer to them in the books. But then this scene, I'm confused. I don't know. I was literally going through, I was like, he's in the water already. I'm still waiting for Neville. I was like, still waiting for Neville. I was like, I'm going to have to reread it. So I had to reread it. I reread it and I was like, somehow I like that part better in the movie. Unfortunately, I cannot show you because I'm using my phone to record, but it's October 2nd. I said I was going to finish this book before I went on my trip. I just misspoke. I said I would finish this series before my trip. And do you know what I just finished? I don't know what happened. No, I do know what happened. This book, like, why were there 7 pages of test taking? What? You're telling me it was over 800? It was 870 pages and like 35 chapters? Okay. I liked this book a lot. It would be a solid 4.5 probably out of 5 stars for me, but because it is about 400 pages longer than it should be, it's like a 3. Every time you read a book and you review it and you think about it, like, you should always read the series or the book again and again. So this is just based off of my first initial read. Remember, this video is literally me just reading the books for the first time. These are my first initial reactions. And of course, later, probably next year or something, I will read them again. I loved this movie. And so I knew what to expect from the book. There were a lot more scenes in it that I liked a lot that I think would have been good in the movie, but then the movie would have been too long because this book, like, the movie left out so much and the movie was still almost 3 hours long. This book is... so long, dude. It was so long. There were 4 major differences in between the book and the movie that I liked in the book so much more. First one is Harry's article in the Quibbler, whatever. Wait, what's it called? Luna's father's, whatever. His article that he wrote, or whatever. The interview he did with Rita Skeeter. I don't remember that. I don't remember that at all. I don't know. It might have been talked about a little bit. That was like a big deal because Umbridge was like burning it, like burning books, like book banning in the school. It was crazy. I don't remember that. And that was interesting. Literally been so hard on Harry this entire time because I'm like, why would you do this? Why would you think this? Why would you say this? He's literally like 15. Because I was like, why the hell would he tell Umbridge about the whole interview thing? Like, why would he say that blatantly? But then I'm like, he's a child. Second thing was, in the movie, during one of the testings, during the movies, Fred and George got on their brooms and like brought in all the fireworks and the fire dragon and stuff. But that was during a test. In the movie, during the book, Umbridge was like terrorizing Harry in her office with the Veritaserum that Snape gave her, but eventually Snape said, oh yeah, it was fake, which the movie that never happened. And I feel like that's pretty important, especially with Snape's character and everything. But it happened during then. And I was like, so it's one, she interrogated Harry and brought him and like terrorized him in her office way more than the movie shows. And I was just like, that's crazy. Anyways, that was the second one. I don't remember Hagrid at all. I remember him being gone, but I don't remember Umbridge ever kicking him out. And so for them to be on the astronomy tower doing their little testing, and then all of a sudden Hagrid and then McGonagall is getting shot, and I was just like, what is happening? I was like, this is kind of distracting and crazy, and I didn't realize she kicked out Hagrid like that. In the end, how Harry leaves Hagrid and he's like mad at him. I don't know. I have liked Hagrid this whole time. I don't know why he kind of bothered me in this book. Because it seems like he knows a lot, but it's kind of up in the clouds all the time. And he's like, oh, it's not my business telling Harry anyway. And so he's kind of one of that trope, like he's like the mystical, like, oh, I'm not supposed to, like, I know everything, but I won't tell you. You can find it out on your own. And it's like, bitch, I don't know. He's kind of irritating in this book. The biggest, oh my God, okay. The biggest thing about this book that was different than in the movie was how Harry saw Snape's memories in the Pensieve, or however you pronounce it. Harry is alone in Snape's office after Draco came and stole Snape from. If you hear little pitter patters, Cash is running around because he has zoomies. Something happens and he leaves the office, so then Harry is now alone in the office and Snape assumes he leaves. He doesn't. He looks in the Pensieve, and then there's even more memories than like what was just in the movie. Because in the movie, it only showed whenever James levitated him or whatever, or terrorized him, essentially. It didn't show them, like, by the lake or Snape ever calling Lily the thing or Lily defending Snape. Like, that was never a thing in the movies. And so I knew that was a thing because I'm on TikTok. I've seen people talk about it, whatever. But I didn't realize that it was. So, like, there's a whole chapter dedicated to it. Like, the chapter is called Snape's Worst Memory. It's literally called Snape's Worst Memory because it's the one where, even though Lily defended him, he, like, still acted out and called her that because of all of the shit he was getting into. I have a lot of, like, bias already on it just because I've seen a lot online. And I don't know what's, like, the truth. I feel like the reason why Snape acted out like that towards Lily is because of all of these. I can literally yap forever about Snape's character. But anyway, the fact that that was his worst memory, like, kind of seals the deal for me that it's like, he's not as evil as everybody makes him out to be. The second to last chapter, where Dumbledore is just yapping for pages and pages. Dumbledore literally yaps for forever, and Harry is, like, screaming and, like, breaking things. I'm like, oh my God, it's chaotic. But I was like, why? I don't remember that. I remember him sitting down with Harry and talking to him gently, and Harry was, like, putting up a little bit of a fight. But they got it twisted. So Harry and Dumbledore are literally sitting there having this whole discussion, and Harry is screaming and throwing things, and Dumbledore's sitting there yapping, telling the whole story, the whole backstory or whatever of it. And the end of the movie, it's, like, so short. Like, what? I don't remember that at all. Like, they never act out like that. And then it's so funny because then in Goblet of Fire, it says that in the book, Dumbledore is so chill with Harry whenever he literally grabs him and puts him over a table and is like, did you put your name in? They got it twisted. They did it backwards then. Now they're doing it backwards now. I'm like, what's going on? But then he talked about Sirius. And I had already seen some things about, like, Dumbledore not liking Sirius because he couldn't control him. With Snape, the reason why Dumbledore liked him more was because he would obey. Harry, like, screams on top of it. You remember the all caps? You know how I was complaining about that at the first book? Harry, like, screams at him, like, you think he deserved to die or whatever. Dumbledore was like, no, I didn't say that. But, like, the way he talks about Sirius, he's easily able to take, like, real tangible things that might have happened, that Sirius might have done, but it sounded like he was just like, oh, he didn't do exactly what I wanted, so I'm throwing him away. I see Dumbledore's character, and I know he's good, but it feels like he's trying to be I'm so good that I'm almost evil because he's, like, transcending, you know what I mean? Like, he's above human emotion. He's like, I'll give up a few people for the greater good. But he takes it a step further and is like, I will do away with people or kick people out of the plan who aren't on board for sacrificing themselves for the greater good, or who I can't use for it, because he thinks that he is some up here all wise and powerful wizard, which he is. That's the problem. Like, he is so powerful. He's one of the most powerful wizards ever, but
it feels like his behavior isn't natural. You know what I mean? Like, it feels like him selecting to use Snape, but not Sirius because he can't control Sirius. And the way he organizes things, it's not like it's a natural, like, oh, I'm so good and I'm so powerful, so I naturally do the right thing for the greater good. Like, it feels like he's orchestrating it a natural. I don't know if that makes sense. This was a good book. I love Snape. Harry is an idiot. But the thing is, he's growing up now. Order of Phoenix would have gone great if you just gave Harry a gun. At this point, someone give Harry a gun. I feel like it has come to this point, okay? I'm so excited for Deathly Hallows, don't get me wrong. However, I am so excited for Half-Blood Prince, okay? I read 200 pages of Order of Phoenix right now, and I'm literally about to go read 200 pages of Half-Blood Prince. I hope I lock in. Oh my God, please. I need to lock in. I haven't been locked into a book in over a month because this sucked the living soul out of me, but it was still so good. Like, every book gets better, but I also want to die a little more when I read them. Watch what the next clip be like, so I finished Half-Blood Prince. Yeah, but it's not a month later. Like, it's like tomorrow. Anyways, that was my analysis of Order of Phoenix. It was very brief. It was only on like 2 scenes, and this is 870 pages. So I'm not doing like individual long analysis of what I think of each character in the books. I will during my second read because I feel like I'm going to have to reread these books at some point, but that's definitely going to be a next year's feat. Farewell. The next time I see you, I'll be yapping about Half-Blood Prince. I'm sorry for this weird angle. You are currently sitting on Order of Phoenix, Queen of Shadows, and a rock on my kitchen table, and you're leaning against a plant. So that's what we're working with right now. This is the book that did not come with a dust jacket. I am I'm distraught about it. It's a day and a half later-ish, okay? And we're nearly 300 pages in. Granted, this book is about 200 pages shorter than Order of Phoenix, but I'm literally zooming. I love Half-Blood Prince. It's definitely my favorite because of the pacing, I think. I think, like, the scene cuts are perfect. They're scratching my brain in a fantastic way. I will never forget watching that movie for the first time, you know? So I was like, it'll be my favorite book, but it's not. So far, Half-Blood Prince is so good. I love the characterization. I loved the beginning of it, how the minister went to the prime minister's house. It seemed like they were blaming like a major hurricane or something that happened in America on Death Eaters, and I think that's like hilarious, especially since I live in like a hurricane zone or whatever in the US. That was super funny, but also like this book came out a few months before like Katrina happened, so that was kind of funny, but I'm allowed to laugh at it, you know what I mean? They never said America, but they said the president of, or like the Western countries and hurricanes, and I was like, girl. The second chapter though, Spinner's End, when Bellatrix and Narcissa go to meet Snape to ask to help with Draco and everything, that it was so much different than in the movie. Like, by far, so much different than it was in the movie. I was like shocked because in the movie, Narcissa is so calm, cool, collected, but literally in that chapter, Snape is like picking her up off the floor, like, get a hold of yourself, it'll be okay, I promise everything will be fine. And she's like sobbing, and Bellatrix is like, you know, basically snuffing Snape out, like, she knows that she can't really trust him completely, but Narcissa doesn't care because she doesn't really, she just doesn't want to see Voldemort ruin anybody else in her life, because it was Regulus, Lucius again, and then now Draco, and that scene was so good. I'm telling you now, I don't know what's wrong with me. Like, in the movies, I liked Snape the most, but in the books, like, I love him even more. I love this book. I'm eating it up. The pacing is just perfect. So I'm gonna see how long I can go today. We're gonna see how far we can get, and I will update you when I feel like it. I was gonna say whenever something major happens. Good morning and welcome to my bathroom. I literally just got out of bed and I was like, I'm going to update and film because a lot has happened. Not only have I finished Half-Blood Prince, I finished Deathly Hallows as well. I have no idea what happened, okay? I literally sat down to read, I looked up, and it was 2 days later and I finished the books. So crazy to me how different you can perceive a story, or how different you can perceive movies by reading the books. I didn't realize how much different the story was going to feel to me once I read the books. Right now, I'm only going to be talking about Half-Blood Prince because Deathly Hallows is its own feat that I'll be talking about later. Something about Half-Blood Prince itches my brain in a way that the other books could never. She suddenly learned how to write in between Order of Phoenix and Half-Blood Prince, and scenes weren't taking so long. There was a lot less yapping. Granted, I'm going to also subject this to, they're not 12 anymore, okay? In Half-Blood Prince, I think they were like, what, 16 or something like that? So it's like, yeah, they're a little bit more mature, and especially like the war is really raging, and I'm just like, oh, right, okay, so yeah, Harry's going through it. So they're kind of understanding him now, so everything's going to be a little bit more serious. But something that's unexplainable, like in this context of the storyline or the plot or characterization, suddenly her pacing of writing itched my brain in a way that the other books just didn't. Deathly Hallows is better as well, but something about... So all of the writing technicalities aside, I'm gonna talk about the plot. Because the plot plots. There are a couple of things about this book that are a lot different from the movies. And one of them is that this is so lore heavy between Harry, Dumbledore, and like Harry and the Minister, Harry and figuring out his place with, I mean, Voldemort, but through the eyes of Tom Riddle, like, because there's so many more scenes of him going into the Pensieve. In here, he goes and he sees so much more. He sees so much more of him collecting the Horcruxes, and so he already knows. He's already seen the Horcruxes he has to get. He saw them beforehand, and then in Deathly Hallows, like in the movies, it was such a big deal because they're like, we don't even know what we're looking for. Like, how do you even know? And it's like, yes, it was like that in Deathly Hallows, but they were more mad at Dumbledore giving them so much less information than they deserved in order to do this. Not, oh, we have no idea. We don't even have a basis on which we're looking for these Horcruxes at all. Like, we don't have any leads at all. But yes, you did, because in the book, like, Harry knows what he's looking for. And you can see I tabbed things. I didn't tab anything in the rest of the books. I literally just tabbed them in Half-Blood Prince because there were some chapters, some scenes that I was like, so I will talk about that in a second. And then the next one that I want to talk about is Harry and Ginny literally kissing for the first time was so much better in the books because it was like in front of everyone at the end of like a game win, and everybody was like, and I can remember him turning around and Hermione was like, and Ron was like, the movie was more about the relationships and like everything, and I get it, they're like 16, but if it's going to be about relationships, at least give us the good stuff about Ginny. You like took everything good from her. Like, I'm confused. The last scene I was going to talk about before we get to the tabs. Harry thought or found out or something that Snape told Voldemort about the prophecy. And so in his mind, he put 2 and 2 together, and he was like, oh, so it's Snape's fault that Voldemort killed my parents. And so he was so mad. And so he went to Dumbledore and was like screaming, yelling. And I can not clearly remember many times that movie Harry talks in all caps. You know what I mean? The tabs. The Minister literally comes over to the Weasley's house over Christmas break whenever Harry is there. Not in the movie at all. The Minister takes Harry outside on a walk, and he's essentially telling him, so, like, you know, you should basically be the poster child of the ministry so that whenever you win, it can be like, we trained you and we can get it. And they want to take Harry's glory, whatever. And Harry's like, I'm not even after the glory. Like, I literally just want to be normal, I'm trying to save the world and fuck off, you know? And the Minister is asking, like, what is Dumbledore up to? And Harry's like, I have no idea. Technically, he has no idea, but he doesn't not have any idea. The end of the chapter, the end of chapter 16, the Minister goes, well, it's clear to me that he has done a very good job on you. Dumbledore's man through and through, aren't you, Potter? And then Harry goes, yeah, I am. I'm so glad we straightened that out. I don't know why this scene hit me so hard, and these quotes did. It's because I already knew what happened. Like, I already watched the movies. But I feel like if I didn't and I was reading the book, by the end of the next book, I would have totally forgotten about this. The next tabbed scene
that I have. This scene is whenever Harry goes to Dumbledore's office and they're about to go into the Pensieve, except it's whenever Dumbledore expected Harry to have the like Slughorn's memory, the whole like real memory of him telling Tom Riddle about the Horcruxes. And Harry fails to get it because he just did, which that's fine. Dumbledore is throwing a little bit of a fit. Like, he's never been as disrespectful as this scene. He goes into his office and is like, no, like, I haven't been able to get it yet. I tried as hard as I could, but like, whatever. Understandable, in my opinion. He's 16, I don't know. Whatever, get it tomorrow. Like, I don't understand. Dumbledore literally is like, well, I don't really care if your best friend got poisoned and almost died. He like is healed now. Once it was clear that, you know, Ron made a full recovery, I was hoping that you were going to be able to get it, but, you know, I tried to convince you that it was super important to get, but clearly it didn't work that well. And Harry just, it says like he has a prickly feeling of shame, like just wash over him. And he goes, it isn't that I wasn't bothered or anything. I had other things. Dumbledore was like, oh, other things on your mind. Right, I see. And so Dumbledore's throwing a fit. He's like all upset or whatever. And it feels so manipulative. Like he's manipulating Harry like, oh, you think you're so busy. Like, you know, you had other things to talk about. You know, this should be the most important thing in your life or whatever. He said, I'm really sorry. I should have done more. I should have realized you wouldn't have asked me to do it if it wasn't really important. And then Dumbledore was like, thank you for saying that. May I hope then this will have a matter of high priority from now on? He's so manipulative and like emotionally immature for like 150 years past expiration. It's kind of fucking weird that you're putting your own emotional security on top of a 16-year-old who already is fucked in the head. It's like Dumbledore knew that Harry, because of the way he was raised, was going to already have issues with adults. Emotionally, physically abused kids in any capacity already believe that their own behavior, they are in charge of adults' emotions. So if an adult is mad, it's their fault. So that's how Harry already views the world in his relationships with adults, that it's his responsibility to protect adults' emotions. And Voldemort and Dumbledore knows that. He knows that, and so he's using it because he put Harry in the place. Like, literally every single thing was orchestrated by Dumbledore, and literally every single thing that happened to Harry, Dumbledore didn't care about. He just did because it was part of his plan, and the only way that he could really get his plan working was if Harry was in this vulnerable position for forever, so that he was easily to be emotionally like manipulated. I feel like I stumbled through my words, but I think I was making a pretty damn good point, and it's pissing me off. Like, when I read that, I was like, the last scene, Dumbledore is trying to convince Harry that it's not all because Harry is the way he is and is able to love and Voldemort can't. Like, that's the whole reason why he's going to and is able to defeat him. He's basically like yelling and instilling into Harry's mind, like, no, you are putting too much into the prophecy. You look at this prophecy and you're so afraid, like, you're like, okay, well, you know, one person lives while the other dies. And it's like, I'm the one who, you said, like, I'm the one who's able to love, so I'm the one who has to win. And Dumbledore is like ripping into him, like, it's essential that you understand this, that prophecy isn't like not as important, not about a prophecy completely. Like, it's all Voldemort's fault because he's the one who created you. If he never did it in the first place, then there would be none of this. Like, it's all his fault and it's not the prophecy. And like, he created you in order to defeat him. And so Harry says, like, but sir, but it all comes down to the same thing, doesn't it? I've just got to try to kill him. Or Dumbledore cuts him off and goes, you've got to? Of course you've got to, but not because of the prophecy, but because you yourself will never rest until you've tried, and we both know it. I don't even know what Harry's original thoughts and feelings are about it, because he was almost created and like groomed and fashioned in this way to this point intentionally. Like, any of his thoughts and any of his beliefs and wants, are they authentic and are they real? I wouldn't know, because
like Dumbledore, I keep calling Dumbledore Voldemort, okay? How can you tell what Harry's true beliefs are? And how can you tell what he would actually do if every single moment of his life leading up to this was perfectly orchestrated by Dumbledore in order to use him as a weapon? I think that this book, it really upped that, like the whole ante of it, of how dissolute, like Dumbledore is just so cut off emotionally, like he has everything fit into his plan. He's kind of like in psychosis, like it literally sounds like he's like suffering from some kind of like narcissistic, like a dreamland. That's where Dumbledore is. Okay, and Harry having to reap the not so beneficial stuff of it is like hardly talked about Draco, because Draco is a lot more prominent in this. Everybody talks about Harry and Draco and how it's like, you know, it's their book. But for me, I just really noticed how, I don't even know if Harry was understanding it. I think he was still kind of a victim to every single person in his life using him in a particular way, specifically Dumbledore, so that the greater good can be protected. I could talk a lot more about this book. I just wanted to talk about the biggest premises, like the biggest things that I saw in it and everything that affected me the most. And when Dumbledore died, I was like, you had it coming. And it's so annoying because you hate these characters and everything, and it's like Dumbledore, I kind of wanted to die, but the problem is it was in his hands and he's the one who chose it and he's the one who orchestrated it, and I'm just like, it's infuriating. This series is full of characters who are so complex and manipulative, and they're so powerful that their lasting effects don't just end when they die. Like, it's like a generational problem. Like, Voldemort is going to have affected Harry's kids, even though he died before they were born. Dumbledore is going to affect everybody. Like, on it, like Voldemort and Dumbledore and all of these people, all of these super powerful, evil, selfish, narcissistic people are going to have lasting effects over the generations to come, even after they're dead. And that is what is so mind-boggling and like infuriating about this series. Even though it's so good, like, it's like, don't get me wrong, it's so good, but I'm just like, it's just not fair, and it's so. The next clip will be later, okay, and I'm going to talk about Deathly Hallows, and then the whole series in a nutshell. So I'm so glad we could have this morning chat in my bathroom. Obviously, as with most any movie and book, basically, there are going to be so many more details in the book than the movie, which is so fine and understandable. Harry's family, like, kind of like upped and left. Why did they take out the scene of Dudley and Petunia like about to talk to Harry? Or I don't know. It's like a minor redemption scene or whatever from Dudley. Why'd they take it out of the movie? I saw the deleted scene. They filmed it. Why did they take it out of the movie? It wasn't that long. Whatever. Whenever he says that it looked like Petunia was going to say something, but then she didn't and she turned around and left, man, my first thought was like, imagine. I bet Petunia thought about that for like the rest of her life. Another thing that I had no idea happened or existed was the note that Harry found that his mom wrote, and he found like the half where it was him and James or whatever, that picture thing, but then the second half of it was like, or the ending of it was torn off. Like, we already don't get enough of Snape as it is, so why are you going to leave out the tiny minuscule scenes that he's in? But I've seen so many people on TikTok ripping into Snape, saying that he's like the worst, he's a freak, he's a bully. But now I just sling blocks, okay? I'm just a block slinger at this point. You talk shit about Snape, girl, death penalty, you know what I'm saying? So the whole thing with the note, a lot of people on TikTok have used it as an excuse to call Snape super obsessive and creepy and manipulative. I know that J.K. Rowling herself said that she did intend to create Snape have a kind of obsessive love for Lily, and I do see that. However, I want to add to that, I think that it is grounded in extreme regret. I think that not putting the scene in the movie of him actually calling Lily what he did kind of ruins that. Yes, obviously, he like loved her and was obsessed with her, but I think that there's also a huge
a huge basis of regret and guilt in his whole character. And I think that those feelings are much stronger than being obsessed and in love with someone who's been dead for almost 20 years. Snape really regretted handing the prophecy over to Voldemort because he felt like it was his fault that they died. And so he's lived with that regret. After he gives Voldemort the prophecy or whatever, I feel like he would spiral where now he's thinking about everything that he's done. People keep saying like, oh, he's a Death Eater and he keeps choosing Voldemort and he's like his most faithful servant and Voldemort liked him the most, even though Voldemort doesn't really like people. I don't know what's going on about that, okay? And then on top of that, oh, he's so immature, like he's a fully grown adult abusing and bullying a bunch of kids in his class or whatever unfairly, or he is so obsessed with someone who just rejected him, or I get it, I do, but you really need to look at the intention of everything. He didn't really have any friends, and the closest friends that he had were in his house, and he was Slytherin, so he was around a lot of Death Eaters. But it's like, if you put someone in a bad, abusive, bad place, then the only place that they have ever received actual community or love or attention, even though if it's not the good kind, I mean, you can't expect a kid to know the difference between that. If it's going to turn into something like the Death Eaters or the cult, it's like you want to blame them because obviously you should know right from wrong, but it's the only place that anybody has ever accepted him. And so I'm not justifying what he's done, it just sucks. And I think that he inherently wants what's best. It's just he lives so deeply in regret of letting his fear and heartache basically control him when he certainly when he was a kid, and whenever he ruined his friendship with Lily, he regrets that, and that kind of drove him into oh, well, if she's going to leave me, whatever, it doesn't matter. I have all my friends now who are Death Eaters, basically. And then he just went too far. That's my opinion on it. I don't think he's inherently evil or immature or abusive or obsessive. He can be obsessive, but that's not inherently who he is. He's just living in regret. And it's really sad. J.K. Rowling wrote Snape, and his personality, the basis of it, is so complex. But if you're going to make a character so intense and complicated as his, then she didn't put her whole back into it. You know what I mean? I feel like all the characters, it's oh, this has the potential of being so deep, to have these characters have the potential to have such a huge character arc and a huge redemption story and everything. And it was the climax was rising, but then just kind of stalled, and then it was the end. I feel like I've already talked about this in this series because it's very easy for me to compare them. Snape and Nesta from A Court of Silver Flames are very similar, and I love them both so much. They're some of my favorite characters, okay? They really are. I don't care if you hate them or not. You can kill yourself. Oh my god! I was almost expecting a Nesta level redemption story with Snape, and I was just left feeling very dissatisfied because that is not what we got at all. And I totally understand because he's more of a tragic story. Obviously, he's more of a tragic story than a character like Nesta. It could sound delusional, so let me try to pick my words carefully. Every time an author makes a character, I'm always okay, what is this character's intention? What is their character arc? And what is the author trying to show with this character, whatever. I literally could not answer any of those questions with J.K. Rowling because it was she was trying and she tried to get there and then it just ended. And I was okay, so what was the purpose? So maybe for Snape it was whenever you keep making the wrong decisions, you start spiraling, especially if you keep living in regret and if you keep living it with an obsession with the past, or I'm pretty sure that's what she was trying to do. It just didn't, I'm not satisfied, and it doesn't feel complete to me because he never got that, he's still in the gray area. People still think he's bad when it's very, very clear in his character, to me at least, that he's not at all. Harry, first of all, I couldn't tell you one thing that's different from him at the end of this book than at the beginning of the first, except he's just a little bit more traumatized and abused. What did Harry learn? How did he grow? What was his character arc? I don't know if I'm missing it out or if I'm a little bit blinded by other characters, but I could not tell you. Like, I feel like first year Harry, if he knew what Dumbledore was about to do to him, damn, he would have been like, Draco, let me do it for you. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, it just feels like his personality was so watered down and desensitized, and like suddenly everybody's the hero and he's just so humble and selfless. Girl, you have to match the evil that you're trying to defeat, honestly, with a lot of heroes. That's what happens. And so with Voldemort, if you're gonna sit here and tell me that she makes a villain that is so intense, so powerful, so insane as Voldemort, you're gonna sit back in here and tell me that Harry is gonna have that super humble, so perfect, good and savior, holy hero personality? Like, that's not possible. And I totally get it. I totally get that the whole premise is supposed to be like, love always wins. Love is always victorious in the end. Girl, not if you create a villain like Voldemort. Harry was saved by my mother's love. Okay, I get it. And Voldemort doesn't understand love. Just because he doesn't have love doesn't mean he isn't intelligent. He's supposed to be like one of the most intelligent students, like, in his year. You're telling me that he didn't know to check? Like, just because you don't have love doesn't mean that you don't have intelligence, you don't have pride, you don't understand the fact that other humans are going to behave the way that they do. Personally, my opinion, you're going to create a villain like Voldemort, manacled is canon to me. Especially after reading this and Harry's thought process and everything and how obsessive he became, he was literally on track for manacled. But I'm going to use manacled as the poster child, I guess, for this, because it feels, the way she wrote it is so accurate. It's like so accurate to like book characters. It's so, I'm in disbelief. In this book, Harry became so focused and neurotic, like so tunnel visioned on doing the right thing always, and never matching their evil, like never using evil, unforgivable curses. Like, he needs to win with love. Like, that's what he believed. That's how it was in Manacled as well. And I should have known it was gonna be the same, because it's like people have read the fucking books. Like, I'm the one who's 20 years late, okay? I don't know what else to say, except there's no reason why he shouldn't have come out of the forest. If you're going to make Voldemort be the villain he is, I don't understand how Manacled isn't canon. And yes, it's a kid's book. And also, I know I'm talking so deep about character arcs and what like good versus evil and what makes a good villain and whatever, and then people say, it's not that deep, this is a kid's book. It pisses me off so much whenever I have these deep conversations about like Harry Potter or something. People are like, well, it's just a kid's book, it's not that deep. Okay, well, J.K. Rowling is a shit author when it comes to characterization and character arcs. I don't like it. Like, it is that deep. If you are going to make so many iconic characters in a iconic world, it's gonna be that fucking deep. I don't care if it's for kids or not. Like, have good characterization and have good character arcs. Because what is the purpose of a lot of it? My other thing about it, I could talk about Ron and his family all fucking day, because I think that they're a good example of that as well. What do you mean you set up the scene as Molly Weasley being the mom and also being one of the worst characters in the series? Sorry, not sorry. And then giving Ron, honestly, all the boys, severe mommy issues because she's wanted a girl the entire time and ended with Ginny, and Ginny is like fine. His older brothers stole attention, like Fred and George. The other one is doing crazy things in a different country, I don't fucking know. The other one is the oldest and like super smart, getting married first, whatever, like the poster child, like the oldest perfect son, whatever. And then Percy is like the one who's going off and like being successful in his business, and like Ron has a lot to live up to, and his mom takes it out on him. He gave Ron such a good foundation of an intense and a really like influential character arc, and then just misses the mark by a lot. You see this in Half-Blood Prince when Harry pretends to put the lucky potion or whatever in his cup. Ron wins this huge game thinking that he had the lucky potion, so it wasn't actually him. This would have been the perfect time for her to have Harry tell him, like, you need to have confidence because it's only you who can validate yourself into being successful. It's only you who can push yourself. You can't put your validation in anybody else or how anybody perceives you or whatever, or in other substances that can help you. You need to put your confidence in yourself. Like, that was the perfect time for that to happen, but instead, right whenever Ron finds out, he's like upset, freaks out, and leaves, and Harry doesn't really say anything. He still has confidence issues, and he literally leaves them while they're hunting Horcruxes. Maybe this is the reason why J.K. Rowling like didn't give him the whole confidence, like learning his inner confidence or whatever. I know it sounds cringy, but it's true. Like in Half-Blood Prince, is because he needed a reason to leave them during the Horcruxes, because he still didn't have that confidence or security. I don't know. He comes back, and the only reason why he comes back and is capable of coming back is because of a girl, like because of Hermione. If the roles were reversed, people would not like this dynamic at all. Like literally, if the roles were reversed, because we have this story all the time, like guy comes and save damsel in distress, like that's like the whole thing. Like she has daddy issues and he comes and fills the role, and it's like so fine, whatever. We've seen that time and time again, and we're so sick of it. This is literally what it is. Like that's that same trope between Ron and Hermione, because he only came back when he heard Hermione's voice validating him. So this means that all of his validation, all of his confidence, and any choice that he makes is going to be based off of Hermione. Now, like all of his confidence, everything, literally he's validating himself because of Hermione. And whenever you put that validation in anybody else externally, who the hell are you? You have no confidence. Like what? That means you're an extension of someone else. You know how I am about Hermione. Me and her, we got some beef, but like whatever. By the end of it, she was good. She did redeem herself in this book because she's so committed. Right before Ron leaves, Harry tells Hermione, like, we need to be able to travel, but Ron got splinched. He can't travel. He can't operate. So she's trying, and he's like, you got to do more. She's like, okay, I'm trying. And I'm just like, girl, that's crazy. I feel like if it wasn't a true like commitment she has to Harry, and she would have been like, I did all this for you. Like she never mentions that she obliviates her parents. She never mentions all of the stuff that she has sacrificed. She doesn't really complain. Like she does sometimes complain, but it's mainly about the boys' attitudes. That's why I like her, because she is a ride or die, like so intense ride or die. But with Ron, it's like, I wish he found that confidence inside of himself. And I wish he had that, like, you know what I mean? That's the character arc that I expected from him, and we just didn't get it. With Harry, like, I don't know why I didn't see a major character shift. The best thing that I could draw from his character in the way that J.K. Rowling wrote it was whenever you put a already abused child in such insane situations, and he has realized that nobody's going to be there for him in the end, and he can trust no adult, and it's going to be him versus the world forever. Honestly, again, that shows the brutality and strength and insane effectiveness or whatever of a villain that Voldemort was. So basically, Voldemort has affected at least 3 generations. At least. And that's crazy. So I get it why a lot of the characters are in shambles and dead by the end of it. But you know, like, anyway. I just yapped a lot about bad things and things that I didn't like or didn't understand or notice. I'm going to talk about good things now. And it's going to be a far shorter list, which makes no sense because this is one of my favorite stories, franchises, obviously, as is with everybody else. I really liked how this story in particular dealt with the whole good versus evil, black versus white, love versus hate type of situation, because a lot of books will treat it as like good, perfect, holy, precious savior like defeats evil, dark king or whatever, you know what I mean? And I know that I called Harry that because he does kind of have that in him, but because of the way that Voldemort affected him, and because it felt for the longest time that good and evil like battled inside of him, it made more of a gray area, and it showed that there was a lot more nuance than just good versus evil, because there is no such thing inherently as good versus evil people. Like, yes, there are some people who are like fucked up, okay, for lack of a better word, but I think that most people and most situations are very nuanced and are living in the gray area between the black and white. Learning how to find the nuance or the gray areas in life and in situations is so important because the majority of life is gray. But nowadays, it's almost like nobody understands that there's nuance. Everybody's anti-nuance. It's like you're either this or you're that. If you don't say precisely what they expect you to say, then you must be on the other side. When that's not how it fucking works. It's not how life is. And this generation is very lacking when it comes to understanding nuance in the gray area. It's subtle, but it's there, and I wish more people would talk about it. So that's my major thing that I really liked about the series. We all know I wish that there was also more redemption for Draco, which we get some of it. What's super weird to me is that it feels like J.K. Rowling is, I don't want to say against, but why are all of the characters who are good just in bad situations not redeemed? Like, it happened to Snape, it happens to Draco, it happens to Ron, it happens to Harry in a way, just because he was so traumatized and he had no one. Like, it's like his redemption was getting married and having kids. These characters who are in kind of bad situations just kind of fade into the background once the war starts happening and once everything's settled and once it's clear that Harry wins. I want that because those type of characters who are so complex, like Snape and Draco, who are in bad situations but are inherently good and want to do the good thing, but Voldemort is so intense that they just can't without dying. Why didn't we get such a clear, firm depiction of redemption? And I get it. Maybe she didn't want to do that for one of them, but all of them, you want characters with depth. And if you're going to have a billion characters, you better learn how to fucking write the depth in them. And if you cannot give a character the character arc or the redemption story or any kind of meaning behind it, then don't add it. And maybe that could be a reflection of real life. Maybe there are so many people who don't get that redemption story. This is also a book. It's also fantasy, not real. You can put so many other underlying meanings and reasons for the characters to do what they do in order to explain something or teach people something in the real world. You know what I mean? Like, it's not real. I think that's the reason why I do talk about Sarah J. Maas books a lot, because you can talk whatever you want about her writing. I don't care. Her characterization and how she writes characters, how she uses them and shows particular life lessons or whatever, like the characterization, the character she gives to her characters are insane. It's not to say that all these characters, like Snape, which is my biggest gripe, he doesn't not have a personality. He doesn't not have a character arc. He does. Like, I see it. I see the character arc. It just doesn't, you know what I mean? Like, this is my expectation and just slightly dissatisfied. I want to know if any of you feel the same way, because I know that this series is so old and iconic, and it's like, who am I to judge? But also, I'm dissatisfied. I am probably missing so much, and I know once I go to edit this video, I'm gonna be like, oh, I wish I said this, but I'm gonna be way too lazy to film again, so you're not gonna hear it. Overall, oh yeah, I rated this book a 4. I rated Half-Blood Prince a 5, and Half-Blood Prince was my only 5-star book. I think the first 2 were 4 and then 3. Goblet of Fire was 3 or 4. Order of Phoenix was 3. Something like that. Anyways, good series. I liked it. It's so fucking weird to review this because what are we doing? Like, I'm 25. This is really awkward now. This has been like 2 months in the making, and I'm finally finishing recording. Subscribe if you want more book reviews. I have 2 book reviews on my channel already. One of them is satire-ish. One of them is satire-ish, and you'll understand if you watch it. The other one is Silver Flames. Last month, I went and saw Juju in Canada for the first time. I was in Canada for the first time, saw Juju for the second time, and we were in this tiny fuck-ass town, like a tiny town outside of Whistler, and we went in to get drinks and medicine because I had just been hit by a train, okay? And we see squid. I'm recording. I'll put the clip in right here, even though it's gonna go into my traveling vlog because I'm a vlogger now, apparently. We are passing by. I'm like, oh my gosh, look at all these Squishmallows, and we look, and there's like all these Harry Potter Squishmallows, and I'm like, we're in a tiny town, like, why are they here? We freaked out.
Wait, they have,
oh my god.
They have
Shut up.
we're
Dude.
literally in like a small town.
I already have Hermione.
I don't even have Hermione.
Oh my god. Stop.
Oh. Girl. I'm getting it. That's crazy. Look at him. I'm so glad we kept our cool. And so we got... It's so stupid. Yes, I did make one of those stupid accounts, and yes, I was sorted, okay? Great. That's all for now. I don't know why I keep doing this. I hope you liked my review. I don't know why you're here. I don't know why you watched all. I hope it was entertaining, and I hope that you can contribute something to this conversation, specifically about... I want to know your opinions about the characterization, if you like those characters, or if you think that there needs to be more substance like I do. Thank you for watching and listening to me yap. If you want to watch and listen to me yap about other books, then you can subscribe and maybe I will do more. I love how I say maybe, even though I most definitely am, because there are some books coming out next year. Another thing I want to talk about is Hunger Games, because Hunger Games is my Roman Empire. Everybody was going crazy over Harry Potter. I was going crazy over Hunger Games, okay? Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, whatever it is. I watched the movie with Juju in Canada. I watched the movie with Juju and I watched it again, okay? Then I watched people react to it and dude, I am in so much trouble. I am so cooked. Do you know how many TikTok edits? Anyway, I have not read Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes or whatever it is. Or Snakes and Songbirds, whatever order, about the birds and the snakes or whatnot. I'm going to. I will post a review when I do because Snow has got me recounting the last 12 years. 12, 13, 14. I'm old as hell. Thank you for watching and subscribe for more book content and other random bullshit.